And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another day here. Another day of the WTL 2023 Winter Code A. Day number 6, of course. We're nearing the end here of Code A. We're nearing the end of the qualifier for Code S. And we are just whittling away at all of these teams. We have 2 amazing matches for us coming up in a couple of moments. Now, I do apologize. We did miss out on a day of WTL yesterday. Unfortunately, I've been a little bit sick. I've been a little bit under the weather, and I was unable to cast yesterday, but we are here with day number 6. Day number 6. We can make up for what we missed out on in day 5. And up first, we have the upper bracket match. We have Matcherino Esports versus the KWANGDONG FREECS, followed by Mystery Gaming versus Twisted Minds. Now, for some context, we have 4 teams. These are the 4 remaining teams in the tournament, and top 3 make it through into Code S. So 4 teams enter, only 3 will make it through, and we're gonna find out which 3 tonight. Oh boy. Here we go. We have our first matchup. It's gonna be Matcherino Esports versus the KWANGDONG FREECS. We have Astrea versus Alive, Future versus Armani, and Nightmare versus Sue. And I am very excited to see the form every time we cast them. I want to see the form of the KWANGDONG FREECS. It's just so interesting, right? Like, so many of them are players that have been around for a long time, but they have since, in a way, stepped away. They are not active anymore. It has been a very long time since I've had the luxury of casting Alive. Alive is a very inactive player, just like Armani, just like some of the other players on the KWANGDONG FREECS. So, what kind of form is he in? It's not going to be easy. He's up against Astrea, the best player in North America at the moment. So, it's going to be a tough one here for Alive. It's not going to be an easy match for him, so it may not be the best series for us to like judge his form, or maybe it is. We'll see. We shall see, as we're going to be getting ready here for Astrea versus Alive, Game 1 on Gresvan. As we get ready for Gresvan, let's get some predictions going. Let us set up some predictions here, as we're just going to try to get that going here. I apologize. I'm working on my own right now, on my own, so just trying to get that sorted. Gotta get the capitalization right for this. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, predictions are open. Predictions are open. Place your bets in the chat on who you think is going to, or how you think the series is going to go. You have a 2-0 score in either direction, or a 1-1 score as well. As a reminder, it's a best of 2, not a best of 3, not a best of 1. So these can go in a pretty interesting directions as we are getting into our game. And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have the South Korean Terran player for the KWANGDONG FREECS. It is Alive. And the bottom right, we have his opponent for Matcherino Esports, the American Protoss, Astrea. Beautiful. Astrea versus Alive in a TVP. Again, it's been a very long time since we've seen Alive compete. I'm very tempted to even check when his last matches were. We do have an SCV moving out across the map, though a very early SCV. This could be designed to bypass the scouting probe and to go in for an eBay, but no, we are going for a proxy Rax across the map. Okay, so getting into this is not the most committed proxy. It's only one Rax. He's going to be throwing down, I imagine, his second Rax back at home, or just going straight for a factory. So it is aggressive, don't get me wrong, but it's not committed. And we'll see what he can get done. We'll see how he transitions out of this, as we are going to be getting some Reapers built across the map. I mean, we could go in a different direction. We could try to go for, I guess, a tech lab as well for Marauders. We'll see what direction Alive it does go for, as the probe is being sent across the map. Astrea going to be getting a scout off and should be able to get a read on the missing Rax, at least initially. Both gases have been taken. Probe is arriving. We do have a Reaper wall off here at the Reaper Cliff already, so it's going to be difficult to bust on in to really get anything else done. Yeah, the probe does confirm the lack of Rax. Reaper is on the way, but it's only a single Reaper, and we don't even have a fast Rax back at home, so it's not a 2 Rax opener, it's just a single Rax. And Astrea, he should be able to micro well here. He is taking this seriously. We have a Zealot on the way. He could have taken a risk and avoided the Zealots, but Zealot is on the way, and we do see Alive looking for some economic damage. It's going to be on Astrea here to minimize his losses, to be able to pull back in time, and to keep his probes alive. As Reaper is making its way in. Again, far earlier than is normal, but that's why the Zealot has arrived. We do have a bunker on the way in the natural, on the low ground. Oh, but it is being disrupted and it should be cancelled. Meanwhile, the Reaper makes it into the main base, and so far, no probe kills yet. Oh, does get one. Oh, and almost gets a second as well. Only one probe, as Reaper is forced to commit. It takes down a second probe before, oh, gets a third even before going down. Not too bad for the first Reaper. 3 probes is a pretty good amount of damage. Did also force out the Zealot. Second Reaper, though, is going to find a lot less damage and a lot less success here, as it is going to be pushed away, is going to be zoned away by that Stalker. Oh. Meanwhile, back at home, it is going to be a 1-1. Oh, interesting. It is straight up a 1-1-1 opener here for Alive. A very delayed CC here from our Terran player. So he's going for some one-base play. I love that Astrea, he's sending probes across the map. These probes are designed to soak up these Widow Mine shots. Oh, he avoids the mine. Uh-oh. Makes his way in towards that main base as well. The Reaper going to try to hold on here, but against the Stalker, it's going to struggle. This mine misplaced. It's not going to be able to protect the main. We have a Liberator on the way. Up the mine. It does burrow, but it gets wasted on a probe. And we have more probes where that came from to deal with more mines. Alive is in a lot of trouble. A lot of extra DPS here with those probes as well. Our probes and SCVs are going down, but we have another Stalker at Astrea. He's snowballing out of control. It's getting a lot of SCV kills. Now, the Cyclone will eventually arrive, and when it does, it is going to be able to shoot this away. But this is a lot of workers. And bearing in mind, Alive is on one base. He can't afford these losses. Reaper goes down. Tech Lab is under threat. More SCVs have to be pulled, and this is just getting out of control. Ay. It looks like the Tech Lab will survive, but not before losing 10, 11 SCVs, and this is game-ending damage. This is too much. Even if this Cyclone kills 3 Stalkers, it's not going to be enough to equalize. Up, the Stalker got stuck. Finally, a Stalker goes down. Second Cyclone appears. We force a recall. Alive is able to survive. But is he really living? Because there's no CC. There is no base. He is one base all in. Is going to get a couple of probe kills here in the main. A late reaction out of Astrea. Very late reaction, actually. So 5 worker kills. Is able to fight back in some way. CC finally gets thrown down by Alive. But again, it is so heavily delayed. Despite that, the Cyclones, they rock up and they're going to be looking to take down this Artosis pylon. The pylon will survive. We have a couple of Stalkers warped in. Astrea is holding on for the time being. Oh, even takes down that Cyclone in the end. And again, I mean, we do see like a nice amount of counter damage done here by Alive, but it's still not enough. He still has a lot to make up for, as he's still working on his natural base. He's still heavily behind in the economy. He's got tanks on the way. This Liberator being such a nuisance. Getting probe after probe, 9 probes in total. Finally, Blink is done, and we can deal with this. And now Astrea is going for his own counterattack. Ooh, he lost 17 probes. My god, that's a lot of probes. He's still ahead. He's moving out across the map. Back at home, we do have 2 more Raxes finishing up for Alive. He's going into his 3-1-1 setup with Ravens, with Stim. But with the arrival of these Stalkers, I mean, there are 3 gates behind this. I don't know if Alive can hold on to his natural, let alone his main, actually. That's a lot of Stalkers. 1 tank is out. It's at the natural. It's looking very exposed. Uh-oh. And Astrea, he can dive on it immediately, and there we go. He dives on the tank. The tank will go down. Cyclones get some good lock-ons. Oh my god, but the counter juggling here from that Prism keeps the Stalkers alive. Really, only one Cyclone is keeping alive. But he's not going to be alive for much longer here, as the Stalker count is just snowballing out of control. Again, it was just too much of a deficit from the early game. Alive stuck on one base for too long, having a crippled economy. tank comes out, but the natural base has to be lifted. GG gets called, and Astrea will take game number 1. GG. A solid game 1 there from Astrea. Alive trying to be cheeky with his proxy, and he did do some damage, don't get me wrong, but his follow-up was really odd to me, right? I think Astrea as well was expecting more Widow Mines. The CC was so delayed, so he was so all in after the initial proxy. And Astrea was able to punish him heavily there. Meanwhile, I do have to head off for a moment. I'll be back soon for game 2. I'll be back. I promise I won't be long. And we're back. We are back just in time for game number 2. Let's go. And spawning in the top left-hand corner of Dragon Scales, we have the South Korean Terran player down in this series. It is Alive for the KWANGDONG Freecs. And spawning in the bottom right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the American Protoss for Matcherino Esports. It is Astrea. So I ordered food an hour ago. This is our second broadcast of the day, and I did order food during the finals of GPO, and it arrived now. Sorry. But it arrived just now, so it's going to be looking at me for the rest of the broadcast. Let's go. And I'll be digging in afterwards, or maybe during the break, in between the series. I'll try and grab a bite to eat. I'll try to survive, Papi. I'll try to survive. But yeah, that was a pretty interesting game 1. Very interesting. I mean, a good punish from Astrea, a very strong punish as he went into a 3-gate Blink Stalker follow-up after deflecting the initial proxy, and was able to just punish Alive quite heavily in that first game. But now we're getting into game number 2, and this time Alive has his racks back at home. This time it is back at home. Astrea going for a gate expand into Cybercore. Likewise, we have a single gas geyser. This is looking like a racks expand for Alive as well. So essentially, very economic openers from both of our players. Very economic. Is that CC on the way? The probe is going to get trapped into the main. We may see a recall to save that probe, as Astrea is going to try to keep it alive, and there we go. We do have the recall, and it will manage to escape. Beautiful. Do love to see it. And from here, we're getting into a more standard game. Again, Alive, I'm sure, wanted to try to get a cheeky win here to kick things off, but alas, did struggle. And I'm looking forward to a more standard game. I kind of like touched on it, but at the start of the series, I was really excited to see Alive because it's been a very long time since we've seen him compete on this channel, since we've casted him on the CranKy Ducklings, and game 1 left much to be desired. It was a little bit lackluster, and I want to see what he's made of here in a mid-game, in a late-game scenario. I want to see him go toe-to-toe with Astrea. Obviously, Alive, in his prime, you know, he was a very, very powerful, very strong Terran player in his own right. But that was many years ago at this point. Nowadays, again, he's less active. A lot of the players on KWANGDONG FREECS are part-time. A lot of them have, you know, other things that they focus on, and they only play every now and then in their off time. And I'm really curious to see like what his form is looking like, even when he's not focusing too much on improving and on StarCraft. As Astrea goes for a proxy Dark Shrine. It was a Twilight Council opener, not into an upgrade, but into DTs instead. So Astrea is going to be having some fun. He's going to be going full NA. You love to see it. It's something that Astrea loves to do, to whip out these more crazy unorthodox builds. Dark Shrine is halfway done. Proxy is still hidden. The Reaper is right next to it, but the Reaper does not see what is going on. Does not check the corner of the map because there's no reason to. And Alive is in the dark as to what is going on. This is not looking good here for Alive. As he's setting up for a mine drop, Reaper goes in. This is a very important scout, actually. The Reaper does bypass the Stalker, gets into the main base. Oh, but Charge... Fun fact, Charge gets started there just as the Reaper comes in, and then we cancel it to make it look like we're going for a standard Blink opener, hiding the Dark Shrine. Very smart there from Astrea. Of course, had to cancel in the end because he's not going for Charge or Blink. It is DTs, and he has successfully hidden it, successfully just tricked Alive into believing it's something else. DTs are waddling on in. There is a Raven in production, but before it comes out, SCVs will fall, especially with the army moving out as well. Oh, it has been spotted. Jig is up. He knows. Raven is still a couple of seconds away. We do have a scan available. Marines are getting in position. At the same time, mines are dropped across the map. The first Widow Mine goes down. The second Widow Mine does not burrow. Oh, and the Marines are falling. Marines are going down. Mine does... Oh, God, no! The retargeting! Not quite. No retarget. The mine only gets one probe. Meanwhile, 8 SCVs go down across the map. Ay, ay, ay. But that wasn't game mending. That was maybe game crippling damage. That could have been worse. That definitely could have been worse. Thankfully, we had a couple of scans available and we had a Raven on the way for Alive, so he's able to hold on. But his economy is not looking amazing at the moment. He's working on Stim. He has a 3-1-1 setup. Pretty standard setup here from Alive to get into the mid game. If only he hadn't lost so many SCVs, as Astrea is looking to expand, take his third base. Blink is on the way. Robotics Bay as well for Colossi. And Astrea has map control. For now. For now, he has map control. Meanwhile, Alive, he just has to back off and kind of accept the game state for the time being. Next time. As a couple of SCs are going to be going down, we do have high ground vision. Blink is done, and we blink into the main base. We're going to be able to take down the reactor on the starport. I don't think we should get much else. Stim isn't done. Uh-oh. Tech Lab is going to burn down as well. Without Stim, we cannot keep up with these Stalkers. And not a single Stalker goes down. Uh-oh. Not like this. Mukbang stream. Who's Astrea playing? Alive. Alive. As Astrea, he's just containing his opponent. Can I fix that, actually? I don't think I can. Oh, can I? No. No. I can do... The most I can do is this. Hold on. As the Stalkers are getting to the main... Oh, they snipe a Raven as well. Oh my god. The high-value pickups. Calm down, Fathy. Calm down. I can do this? which is... Nah, it's fine. We'll get rid of it. As you do see, the Stalker is just going to be containing his opponent, picking up whatever they can. The proxy has finally been dealt with, but by the time Alive moves out across the map, we already have a Colossi, and the threat of this push is typically the Raven, because the Raven can disable the Colossi. With that, you can just bust on through, break into the natural, but as he moves out, the Stalkers, they come back in. They find a Marauder, maybe even a second Marauder. They almost get a Tech Lab as well. Alive has been slowed down. His reinforcements are getting picked off one after the other. And Alive is all in. He's committed. He's got to make this push work. But he's pushing into 2 Colossi, an Immortal. Not too many gateway units. Overcharges pop, but we're getting on top of the tanks. There's just not enough to support them. And Astrea dominates this fight. Oh my god. We do have a drop into the main. It's getting damage done, but GG gets called. It's not enough. And Astrea takes the series 2-0. Oh, GG. GG, well played. Very strong showing there from Astrea to take the series 2-0. Game 1 was a little bit rough around the edges. It was like a failed, I wouldn't even say a failed proxy. The proxy was fine. It was just the follow-up that did struggle, and Alive kind of fell on his face there when it came to the follow-up. Here in Game 2, just really strong play from Astrea, successfully keeping his Dark Shrine hidden, unscouted, doing so much economic damage with it, and his follow-up was on point as well. His blink control, his blink harassment, Astrea was just all over that game, and clearly Astrea was more informed than Alive, so a strong start here for Matcherino Esports. But Alive was the biggest question mark for KWANGDONG FREECS. I know I talk a lot about how all the players on KWANGDONG FREECS, they're all inactive, they're all, you know, veterans that are coming back and they aren't full-time StarCraft anymore. But Alive is probably the one that's the most rough around the edges, and all the other players they're looking a lot more competitive, I should say, when it comes to Armani, TY, Stats, and Sue as well. And here we go. So these matches coming up are going to be a lot closer, as Armani is going up against Future. Here we go. We did manage to cast Armani a couple of days ago, also in this matchup in ZVT, and Armani was looking pretty strong. I believe it was a 1-1 series in the end, so Armani, he didn't take it 2-0, but the games themselves were looking pretty solid when it comes to Armani and his mid-game. But what I love about Future is that Future is a very unorthodox player. We've been casting a lot of Future on this channel over the past couple of months, especially because Future was living in Korea. For those who don't know, Future, he did live in Korea for the majority of this year, with Astrea, with Scarlet, with Zane, and he's been improving so much over the course of the past couple of months, as it's looking so good. And what's really interesting is that Future, he has his own builds. He's a very strange and unorthodox player, and if you don't play against Future regularly in these tournaments or on the ladder, then you're not going to be ready for Future. Future, he's willing to go for these 2-base all-ins or these unorthodox 2-racks openers, like more strange than what Beyond does, but like 2-racks into Marine, not Reaper, into a 4-racks and stuff like that. Like, yeah, Future, he just has these unusual or just unique, I think maybe that's a better way to put it, these unique builds. And if you're aware of him, then you can hard counter him. Like, that's what we saw over the course of like KSL and ESL Asia. We saw like Solar and Ragnarok react and actually respond, and metagame Future over the course of a couple of weeks, DRG as well. But because Armani isn't very active, I don't know how familiar he is with Future. I don't know if I don't think they've played before in a competitive setting, so I don't know if he's really mentally prepared for what Future brings to the table in this matchup. Something unique that Future does as well, that I'm sure we'll see at some point in this series, is he eBay blocks in TVZ, which is crazy. Like, that, no one does that. But here we go. In the top right hand corner for KWANGDONG FREECS, it is Armani. And spawning in the bottom left hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the American Terran from Matcherino Esports. It is Future. And I mentioned earlier that Future, he eBay blocks in this matchup, and I think that's what he's going to be doing now. Let's go. I got lucky that I mentioned it, and I'm pretty sure, yep, there it is. There's the eBay block. So this is something that only Future does. Future, he's the only player that does this at this level of play, and it works. Just because it's so unusual. Yeah, Armani goes for the expansion, and he's going to be forced to take the unnatural natural. Like, he throws down a gas geyser, he throws down a spawning pool, actually, so Armani, he's forced to react. This was not his initial plan, so this is inefficient from Armani, but it looks like he does not want to take the unnatural natural. He wants to expand here at his natural base, and this is a good start for Future. Already a very good start. Boys are being pulled. This is a late pull as well to delay the eBay as we get a little bit more progression on it. Fun fact, Ragnarok and Solo, they started going for 15 hatches against Future. This is what I meant when I said that, like, metagaming and hard countering was coming into play. If you know how Future plays, yeah, Solo and Ragnarok, they just started going for 15 hatches instead. just to counteract this sort of thing, because this is doing so much damage. This is 5 drones that are not mining this early on. This is an insane amount of economic damage. We should see the cancel, and there it is. We canceled just in time. We also forced the spawning pool, the gas geyser. Armani, he's got a queen on the way, no lings. Back at home, Future, he goes for a very greedy follow-up with a Rax on the low ground. He fully walls off. And Armani, he's not prioritizing gas. He does have enough for ling speed, but he's not going for a Bane Bust or a Roach Rush. He's, yeah, in a really awkward position. Meanwhile, Future, he's going for a Rax into a factory. Oh. And again, this is what I mean when Future, he's such a weird player. This looks like a 1-base all-in. This is a very delayed CC. Finally, the CC is thrown down, but this is a very delayed base here from Future. His Reaper ignores the Queen, tries to get a scout off, but is denied. Good zoning here from Armani. Armani is, in fact, going for a Roach Rush. He is going back into gas mining, and Future has to realize what's going on. He does have a faster factory, thankfully, but he gets denied for a second time. So Armani, he's doubling down, going for Roaches. Future doesn't know what's going on yet. Now, he's going for a faster starport, so I do think it's probably a good thing that Future did delay his CC for as long as he did. I think it's important to get into your tech and get into your units as quickly as possible in this scenario. As the starport is on the way, Hellions are moving out. Hellions and Reapers are not ideal, though, not in this position. I think this Roach push has a lot of potential to maybe even end the game. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, Future, he made his bed. Can he sleep in it? You know, he forced this reaction out of Armani. And the Roaches, they have arrived. They have been spotted by Future. He has to kite his heart. He has to delay this for as long as he can. With those KDA charges. He's already getting a lot of damage done on these Roaches. Forcing a Ravager. Oh. More Ravagers are on the way. We have a bunker in production outside of the production. Or outside of the natural. Oh, a bit of a misrally from Future. He does lose a Hellion. Every unit counts so much in this position. And we'll see if Future can hold on. He does pull a couple of boys. Oh, do manage to repair. And avoid those biles for the most part. Hellions get focused down. The bunker still stands strong. And Future does deflect this push. Armani is droning behind this. And now, as the dust settles, I think I would go as far as to say that Future is ahead. Future, he is pretty comparable when it comes to the worker count, which is better because Future has mules. Bearing in mind, Armani is still on 2 bases. He does not have a third, which he should have at this point. Meanwhile, tech-wise, I mean, we have Cyclones, we have Banshees on the way, tank as well. Future has map control, and he can harass across the map with said Banshee. There we go. Future, he's not just going to be harassing with the Banshee, he's moving out with his main army as well. Bold move by Future. He doesn't have too many units to work with, but it may just be enough if he catches Armani droning. There we go. Future is sharking around. Gets a lock on. He wants the Queen! Oh, and he barely will not get it. The Queen does survive. The Banshee trying to dive on it as well. Gets punished. Armani's holding. The Miles! Oof. Banshee goes down, and I'm not too sure about this trade here for Future, as he's going to be losing a lot of units. The Ravager survives, and Future, he wants it. Oh, waste the scan as well. The scan was to keep the lock-on the Ravager. I liked the idea of Future moving out, but he overcommitted, he overextended, and Future, he bled out a lot of his units, and he didn't get enough for it to be worth it. So that was a really good trade for Armani. He killed the Banshee, he killed the Cyclone, reset the Marines, he forced out a scan, and he didn't really lose too much. He lost like a couple of Roaches, if that, and like 1 Ravager. So a good trade, a trade that Armani needed. He needed a good trade to go his, or a trade to go his way, especially after being contained to 2 bases for so long. He's going for 1-1. Raven Harass is coming in. Future just, yeah, going for different twists and turns, keeping Armani guessing. He's working on a bio follow-up. He's already got 2 tanks. Future, he's pretty well fortified on 2 bases. Armani, though, if he can recognize this, he should be looking to outgreed his opponents. I would love to see Armani saturate his third and take a fourth. Lair is on the way. Baneling Nest as well. We're droning. Droning up to 60. And we can go a little bit further than that. Now, what's a little bit concerning, actually, as I want to stop myself there. Future... Okay, he's got a third. I was like, he throws down 2 more Raxes, but he does have a third CC. It is spotted by Armani, and him seeing this third and also seeing how delayed it is because of that Ling. Like, it can't land until the Ling gets dealt with. This should be a cue here for Armani to fully saturate his third and get a fourth. And there we go. 4th hatchery's on the way. More drones as well. We're droning up to around 66, around 3 base saturation. And he has free reign, basically. Like, Armani's looking pretty comfortable after the chaotic early game. He's getting back into this. Future is keeping up, though. You can see that Armani isn't actually too far ahead in the worker count. It just goes to show how much he was slowed down earlier. And now Future is moving out. A really bold move out, but he has 2 medevacs. So he's going to be harassing, maybe picking up a couple of units here and there, but he can evacuate. Thankfully, he's not up against Mutas. If Aspire was already finishing up, then he'd be in trouble. But he gets in position. Gonna be stimming forward here with his Marines. Banelings are out, but Baneling speed is not done. Nowhere near being done. Here we go. Armani should be able to force back the army. Tank is exposed. A big collapse here. A big cleanup. And Future, he does save a couple of his units, but he will lose the majority of his army. Only 1 medevac full of units gets out, and Armani holds onto his base. Now, Future is not going all in. He does throw down a 4th CC behind this, so he is macroing up even further, working towards that 4th. And he is not stopping. He's not slowing down. He's just rallying across the map. As he moves out, though, we have a massive Ling counterattack. The wall is not a wall. The Lings get us around. The Marines go down, and Future... For a moment, he turned back around. But he's committing to his attack. He has to commit to his attack. These things aren't getting too much. No, they're getting 7, 8 SCVs. Armani pulling a little bit too far off of creep. But he does get 1 tank. Does get 1 tank for his troubles. But can Armani hold on? He needs more Lings. He needs more time. The pressure's on Future. Good target firing on some of those Banelings. There we go, 9 more Banelings on the way. 32 more Lings. Armani's working on a hive. We have a hive in production. And once these Banelings finish up, Armani, I think he can collapse on this position. Oh, actually, he's evacuating. Never mind. It looks like Armani, he's more than happy to just give up on this hatchery. He's just transferring his workers away. Hoping that maybe the Bioforce overextends onto creep. Well, he goes for another counterattack, but I believe we have reinforcements back at home. Yeah. Lings, they get in. It looks like a tank is going to go down. We get into the mineral line. Uh-oh. A lot of SCVs are falling. 8 SCVs do go down. Nice hold position from Armani. 12 SCVs in total. The supplies are still neck and neck, but the hive is done. Bailey's waddle in. 20 SCVs go down. Oof. Future, his economy is in shambles. He's down to 48 workers. And now that the hive is done, we have Adrenal on the way. We're going to have 3-3. We have Vipers in production for Armani. That's really going to help round out his army. Meanwhile, Future is moving out with a secondary force. And he exposes his 3rd CC. Ay. Future, again, he's out of position. He's moving out across the map. He's committed. I mean, he's pushing in from 2 angles. The Viper! Up! Viper goes down for free. Big pick-off. Very high value pick-off here for Future. Good stutter step. It was good stutter stepping, but the Marines go down. Tanks are being cleaned up as well. The force on the left-hand side has been dealt with, and now Armani has to only focus on the force on the right. There's only one tank. He can roll into this. Waiting for his reinforcements. I'm not sure if he made a second Viper. Losing that first Viper is pretty brutal. Here we go. The Marines are pushing on forward. They are pushing pretty deep into creep. Do you manage to get a queen, but the Banelings roll on in. The Vipers are here. But Future, he doesn't care. He just goes for a massive Doom Drop into the main. And he's getting damage done. He's trading well for himself. He's pushing forward through the center at the same time. Where are the Vipers? I was expecting a power bomb. There it is. We do have finally a parasitic bomb being thrown down. But Armani's being pulled apart. His lack of anti-air is really hurting him. He can't keep up with the drops. Massive supply block for Armani. But he should still have a large enough army to clean this up. As he rolls in, tanks go down. Oh, and in the midst of all of this, Future, he gets a mineral line. 16 drones go down and a hatchery. So even though his army gets cleaned up, he still gets a massive amount of economic damage. And Future is now ahead economically. This one, like the drop play for Future, it was annoying at first, but it's actually winning him this game. It's straight up winning him the game here. As Armani, he's hurting. He's droning up heavily at the moment. On 4 bases, an even base count with the Terran, which is something you never want to be seeing. Finally, we have some anti-air. We have Hydras on the way, Lurker Den for Hydra, Lurker, Viper. But arguably, it's taken too long to get here. Remember, earlier, Future, he was knocked down to 48 SCVs. He barely had an economy, but he has clawed his way back in. Up. As he's doing what he can to just keep his opponent busy. And he's turtling up back at home. We have sensor towers being thrown down. Another main army on the left-hand side. Future being so active, forcing a cancel on this hatchery. He does have a lot of creep to work through, but he's going to be pulling apart the attention here of Armani. Future has maxed out. He's got +3 attack. He missed +3 armor, unfortunately. He has the money for it. He has forgotten it. It is an oversight from Future. And hopefully he doesn't need it. As he's getting quite a lot here. He got some queens, cleared up a lot of the tumors. He's gaining ground on the left-hand side, just not allowing the creep to ever spread in this direction. At the same time, over on the right, Banelings crash in, but they crash into mainly Marauders. Big blinding clouds on the tanks. Armani barely cleans up the tank counts. But you can see that he's falling in supply. It's just too much damage. To the economy, to the army. Future, he has done it. He has pulled it off. He has broken Armani. As he's getting on top of this 4th base, it goes down. And even though Armani, he's going to be able to barely hold on, here come the reinforcements. They're getting on top of the Hydras. Big pickoffs. Expensive losses here for Armani. And after a pretty chaotic game, it was back and forth for both players. GG gets called, and Future takes game number 1. GG. And again, a very strong start for Future. Remember, coming back to the beginning of the game, we were talking about how Future has a very unique playstyle. He has a very unique playstyle, and once you get into the rhythm, like, you can kind of go toe-to-toe with him. But the early game, to me, told me that Armani isn't familiar with Future and doesn't have a lot of experience with him. As a result, the eBay block, the follow-up, or being forced into a roach rush against a delayed CC of Future, like, it felt like Armani played into Future's hands, and Future had an amazing early game. And then it was more back and forth. We saw Armani eventually stabilize and be able to get back into it with a 4th base. A lot of really potent Ling run-bys. I have to give credit where credit is due. Armani's Ling run-bys were amazing. He was doing so much economic damage with them. But we saw the drop play. The drop play was doing really well for Future. He was able to abuse the lack of anti-air, able to pull Armani apart, get an amazing amount of damage. The game-winning move for Future was the drop on the right-hand side. He got 17 drones and a hatchery with one medevac drop. It was like 1.5. Like 1.5 drops. Again, just pulling apart the attention of Armani, and GG. GG, well played. With that, we're getting into our next game, and in the bottom left-hand corner, we have Armani for the KWANGDONG Freecs. And in the top right, we have for Matcherino Esports, it is Future. Also, I'll get predictions going for the third series. I realized that we missed it for the second. I'll do my best, Papi. I'll do my best. I was getting the food. I was distracted. As we do have Future going for a 2-racks opener. Do love to see it. Now, I'm really curious what kind of variation this is going to be. If this was any other Terran player, I would assume that this is going to be a 2-racks Reaper. But Future has been known to go 2-racks Marine instead. But he usually does that on smaller maps. On a map like Altitude, I'm not too sure how well 2-racks Marine is going to really work out for him. I'm curious to see how he plays this out. This time he doesn't go for a eBay block. We see Armani going for a hatch gas pool. And we'll see what units are going to be coming out here for Future. As, yeah, this is gasless, so this is 2-racks Marine. Okay, so explaining this. Again, this is another very common opener and very common build for Future. Is 2-racks Marine. This does typically build up towards a very powerful 2-base push. As he gets into Marine production pretty early on. He can also hunt down Overlords as well. The downside, there's a pretty big downside to this opener from Future. Reapers, they play a pretty critical role in this matchup. Without Reapers, you don't get a scout. You don't scout your opponent. It makes it very difficult for the Terran player to recognize if there is going to be a roach rush on the way. Now, we do have a follow-up SCV scout, which again is pretty important. We do need to get a read on the gases, on the bases, on the droning. Again, without a Reaper, Future is in the dark. First Overlord goes down. Ooh, supply blocking Armani quite heavily, actually. Oh my god. Big supply block as Marines are moving out across the map, looking for another Overlord if possible. And now we're getting into our add-on swap into Stim, into Combat Shields. There's a 3rd Rax on the way. We should be seeing a 4th Rax behind this as well. So Bjorn and the other South Korean Terrans, they're quite fond of the 2-racks Reaper opener into 4-racks. This variation from Future is in a way a little bit more efficient because you get more Marines early on, and you get more Marines overall as well. But you lack map control, and typically you're unable to contain your opponent, but Armani is staying on 2 bases. Interesting. Another Overlord goes down to the scan. Ay, ay, ay. Lings get across the map, but they do not get the scout off. They don't get in. And Armani is stuck on 2 bases. Ling speed on the way. We do have a couple of Lings in production as well, just to maintain control of the map. Armani finally taking a 3rd, but it's going to be a late 3rd here for Armani. Again, like, the way that Armani is playing right now, it does feel like he's off tempo. Like it feels like he's weirded out by Future. He's like, what are you doing right now? What's going on? I'm so confused, because again, no one else plays like this. As we have that 4th Rax on the way. So again, it's in a way going to be a very powerful, very strong 4 Rax here from Future. It's going to be hitting with Stim and Combat Shields. Now, again, if you're unfamiliar with the 4-racks, this is going to be very potent. You have a lot of Marines. The downside is that you have very limited stims. You have maybe 2 stims in your army, and you have to make them count. The reason for that is because you're going to be hitting without medevacs. There's no factory, there's no starport, there are no medevacs to heal up your Marines after they stim and to keep them alive and to give them any longevity. So this is very committed out of Future when eventually he does move out across the map. Now, usually this isn't all in. It's committed, don't get me wrong. In Future, he needs to get damage done, but he doesn't have to end the game. If he's able to trade with the Queens and even get a couple of drone kills, then that should be enough. But we'll see. We'll see if Future does throw down a factory, and if he does throw down a 3rd CC. Because for the time being, we don't see anything. Here we go. Marines are moving out. Stim is done. Combat shields will finish by the time the army gets across the map. And there it is. There's that factory. So Future, he is transitioning after this. We'll see if Armani can survive, though. He doesn't have a Bailey Nest. He has a Roach Warren on the way. He does have a lot of Lings. A lot of Lings are available. If he gets a good surround, he should be able to clean this up. And here we go. The Marines have revealed themselves. Does scan ahead of time. The Lings are getting ready to come in from behind. And here we go. He does stim up the ramp. The first stim has been used. He gets a queen. He does wedge himself here in the corner of the natural. Very good positioning here from Future. He's going to clean up a lot of these things, but it's not going to be enough. Armani does deal with this. He barely does have enough Lings. We trade 39 Lings for 23 Marines. Ay, ay, ay. The armies, they trade blow for blow, and once the dust settles, you can see that Future, he's actually ahead economically. He has a higher worker count. He has plenty of Marines back at him to defend. And he should be working on a third CC. As we look at the production tab, he's got his starport on the way. No third CC yet, which is a little concerning. This is looking like a 2-base all-in follow-up here from Future. Now again, the Marines, they traded pretty well, but I'm sure Future, he wanted more damage. He at least wanted to kill the, well, like reset the queens. Wasn't able to pull that off. Roaches are on the way. Armani's army getting higher in quality. Meanwhile, Future is setting up here for a big 2-base all-in follow-up. Hoping to catch Armani off guard. It is very common to expand after a 4-axe, but that is not what Future is doing. Again, there's a really risky move out of Future. He's hoping that to catch Armani droning. Armani is making workers, but he's not making too many. Like Armani, he's not neglecting his army. He's making Ravagers, Lings, Bailey Nest is on the way. Armani, he's respecting Future quite a bit. And here we go. Future, he's moving out. It's all or nothing this time for Future. The first 4-axe push didn't have to end the game. This one does. A third CC gets thrown down now. Very late third from Future. Again, he still needs to trade more efficiently here. He cleans up all the Lings. The Lings, they come in prematurely, and now Future, he's got a lot of momentum. He's closing the gap here, getting on top of the queens. The tanks do wedge themselves in between these bases. The army becoming quite overstimmed here, but he's getting on top of the queens, getting on top of the Ravagers. It looks like Armani does have enough to hold on. Or does he? He gets the tank. We have more Marines coming in. Future, he wants those Ravagers. Up, there's only one left. He gets every single Ravager, gets on top of the Roaches. And has he done it? Has he broken Armani? It looks like he has. Yeah, he has broken through. Gets on top of the queens, gets on top of the Roaches. Every high-tech unit is going down. And this has snowballed out of control. The 2-base all-in from Future has worked, and Armani just wasn't able to muster up a large enough defense. A big mistake was Armani. He came in too quickly with his Lings. GG gets called. And Matcherino Esports, they 4-0 KWANGDONG Freecs. Oh my god. GG, well played. Again, when it came to that final fight, if you remember, Armani prematurely, he came in with his Lings, and he lost all of his Lings first to the Marines, and then Future, he started pushing in between the bases. It was a little bit premature. It was a little bit trigger happy from Armani. He threw away too much early on, and that snowballed out of control. GG, well played. Future takes the 2-0, and Nightmare and Sue, they don't have to play. they don't have to. It's already a 4-0. It looks like they will play though, so it's up to the teams. It's up to them whether or not they want to play this out. It looks like they have decided to, so Nightmare vs. Sue is still going to go on, but Matcherino Esports, they already take the series. Congratulations. GG. Really powerful performance here from Matcherino Esports, able to take down some old school veterans, but this is a good chance here for the KWANGDONG Freecs to redeem themselves and to show everyone that, hey, they are made of sterner stuff. And Sue is one of the stronger players on KWANGDONG FREECS. Here we go. Predictions are open in the chat. You can place your bets on who you think is going to take this series or how you think this is going to go. So in my opinion, when it comes to the KWANGDONG FREECS, the best players on the team are Su and TY. I think Su is the ace. It's hard to say. I know they played recently in the GSL Code A qualifiers or Code S qualifiers. But Su and TY, they are the strongest players on the team. Su is here to lead his team and to carry his team. Unfortunately, it's a little bit too late for that, but again, he can redeem himself and he can, you know, show us that the KWANGDONG FREECS, they are a team to be reckoned with and a force to be reckoned with in this next best of 2. Here we go. Catching up in the chat. Is it Future's first 2-0? Oh, he 2-0'd Nicorrect. There you go, there you go. Again, Future has been looking really good. Like, Future is pretty comparable to Astrea. I know there's a lot of hype around Astrea, and Astrea is the most recent NA champion in ESL Summer, in EPT Summer. But Future is up there. I do think that he's pretty comparable with the skill of Astrea, especially if you're coming in a little bit blind and if you don't know how Future plays. So, GG. GG, well played. And we are now getting ready for our next best of 2, for our final best of 2 of this matchup. Here we go. And coming into this, I do think that I would favor Su a little bit more than Naime. Oh, it's hard to, it's close. I think I might go for a 1-1 for these two players. Maybe a 2-0 in either direction. It's hard to say. Best of luck. Best of luck to the people placing predictions. I don't envy you. I don't envy you. Oh, as the players just getting set up. Just getting sorted. As yeah, we're just gonna be taking a moment here for the players to, for the players to get their lobby set up, and then we will be jumping into this. Gonna take a moment there to get some water, and to maybe grab a bite to eat. Un momento. Welcome back, everyone. Welcome back. I apologize for the delay, but this is what I assumed would happen. I was very surprised when they showed that Naime and Su were going to play, but as you can see, it looks like there was a forfeit. Again, there was a lot less weight. There was a lot less weight on that series because the series had already ended in 4-0, and it looks like they were waiting and looking for Su. Su was unable to be found, or he did decide to forfeit in the end, which means Matcherino Esports will take the 6-0, and we are going to be moving on to our next series. Up next is a lower bracket match, an elimination match. I mentioned earlier, top 3 teams make it into Code S. Matcherino Esports and KWANGDONG FREECS, they are already confirmed. They are already confirmed for Code S. There's enough room for one more. Uno más, papi, uno más. Either Mystery Gaming or Twisted Minds. Up next, we find out which. See you soon. See you soon.